The 1886 Charleston earthquake. The earthquake started around 9:50 p.m. on August 31st, 1886, in Charleston, South Carolina. As you can tell, Charleston is not on a plate boundary. This means that it was an intraplate earthquake, which is unusual. The exact cause of intraplate earthquakes are unknown. However, the theory is that they are located on ancient fault lines. Charleston is located in one of the most seismically active places in the eastern U.S. The seismicity that it is a part of is called the Middleton Place-Somerville Seismic Zone, which is made up of two steeply dipping faults. Since there did not appear to be a surface rupture, and that the earthquake had a surface wave magnitude of 7.7, the initial slip between faults must have been at least 12 miles underground. The human impact of the event. Anywhere around 60 to 100 people were killed. Today's equivalent to $112 million worth of infrastructure was damaged. The earthquake damaged roads and telegraph lines, which effectively disconnected Charleston from the rest of the world following the earthquake. This led to devastating speculations, which increased anxiety of those separated from their loved ones. Roads, bridges, buildings, and farms were destroyed or badly damaged due to ground liquefaction. Ground liquefaction is when the ground becomes a sort of liquid due to vibrations that increase water pressure between soil grains. Everyone in the community rushed outside whenever the earthquake started in panic to avoid the falling debris. They ended up staying outside that night because they were terrified of it happening again. Aftershocks occurred that night, which only added to the terror. The cleanup started the morning after, and they began to cart out all the debris, and then they sorted out all the bricks. 2 days later, they had begun to rebuild the buildings, and the businesses that were not destroyed began to reopen. The community came together for the cleanup effort and to help those in need with shelter, food, and even emotional support. The earthquake also heightened racial tensions in the post-reclamation South. The environmental impact of the event. All of the Earth's systems were affected or involved. The biosphere was affected because there was a loss of lives, both human and animal. And also the ecosystems were destroyed. The atmosphere was involved because pockets of gas are released from the ground during earthquakes. The geosphere was involved because it is the movement along the Earth's fault that caused the earthquake. The hydrosphere was also involved because due to the earthquake there was landslides that occurred along riverbanks, which polluted the rivers. And following the earthquake, there were sand craters and landslides along riverbeds, which are common consequences after earthquakes in environments like Charleston where there's sandy soil. As you can tell in the photo, that's one of the sand craters. Some of the lessons learned from the earthquake. Dutton, who was the head of the Division of Volcanic Geology at USGS, compiled a comprehensive report of the 1886 Charleston earthquake. At the time, the report was the largest and the most in-depth investigation of an earthquake in the U.S. Dutton created new methods to estimate the depth of the earthquake rupture. This put the shrinking earth theory to bed. The shrinking earth theory was when people believed that earthquakes were caused by the earth's cooling and contracting. And in the decade following the earthquake, seismographs were dispersed around the country. This is when scientists and the general public started to pay more attention to seismic activity. And then the map shown shows the distribution of seismographs as of 2015. And these are the resources that I used to make this presentation.